God's plan is changing for you. Something you were waiting for was rerouted. This message will explain why. My precious one, do you know that sometimes what feels like a delay is actually divine protection? You've been waiting, praying, hoping for that one breakthrough. But what if heaven wasn't saying no? Only not that way. There are moments when God completely reroutes your destiny. Not because he changed his mind, but because he's changing your path to match his higher plan. What you thought was rejection was actually redirection. The door that didn't open wasn't locked, it was guarded. Because behind it was something smaller than what he intended for you. You cried when that opportunity slipped away, didn't you? You wondered why the job, the relationship, the dreams suddenly vanish. But the truth is, God didn't remove it to punish you. He rerouted it to protect you from arriving somewhere too soon, unprepared, or unseen. Listen carefully. When your prayer seems unanswered, heaven is often rearranging the coordinates. The delay isn't empty time, it's construction time. God is laying down new foundations you can't see yet. The route is changing, but the destination is still divine. There's something powerful happening behind the silence. The angels have not stopped moving. The assignment over your life is still active, still burning, still unfolding. What you lost was never the end. It was the signal that a new path has just been drawn. You see, sometimes your blessing takes a longer road because God is clearing debris ahead. The traffic you face in your journey isn't random. It's divine synchronization. Heaven doesn't do detours by accident. Every reroute is revelation written inside it. So, if lately it feels like everything familiar is shifting, don't panic. You are not being delayed. You are being realigned. Wait for it, because what God is setting up next will make you understand why every previous plan had to fall apart first. Hold on tight, the next moment will reveal the hidden reason behind your divine reroute. Beloved soul, have you ever watched a GPS reroute in real time? You miss one turn, and suddenly the map shifts, recalculates, and shows a new way to the same destination. That's exactly how God operates. The moment something slips from your hands, heaven isn't deleting your promise. It's just redirecting your route. You see, when God's plan begins to change for you, it often starts with confusion. Paths you thought were permanent suddenly dissolve. People you relied on drift away. What once felt stable begins to tremble. But underneath that shaking is not chaos. It's the sound of divine alignment. Sometimes, God will let certain doors close to remind you that your destiny was never tied to a single entry point. You might think, but that was my only chance. Yet God whispers back, that was only your first chance. My plan has more layers than you can count. What looks like the end is often the middle of a miracle still in motion. When the ground beneath your feet starts to shift, it's not always because you took a wrong step. It's because heaven is moving the landscape itself. Every detour is a disguised delivery. When you feel forgotten, you're actually being refocused. God knows where your heart is, and he knows where you need to go. The reroute doesn't cancel the promise. It refines the path. What he promised you is still waiting, but in a place your old map could never take you. You might be wondering right now, why did everything I worked for suddenly fall apart? Because your old direction could no longer carry your next dimension. God doesn't waste your waiting. The silence you feel isn't distance, it's design. He's moving things, people, and opportunities into perfect position for your arrival. It's like an orchestra preparing for a performance. You may not hear the melody yet, but every instrument is tuning to heaven's frequency for you. Remember, what God withholds today is often what he multiplies tomorrow. He doesn't take away, he transforms. The waiting room you're in is not a punishment. It's a preparation ground. The longer the construction, the stronger the foundation. When he finally unveils what he's building for you, you'll understand why every shortcut fails. So don't be disheartened when plans collapse. Sometimes God breaks your timeline to build your testimony. He reroutes your steps so you can arrive not just at your promise, but at your purpose. And trust me, you'll want to stay right here, because the next revelation will show you how your greatest delay was actually your divine delivery in disguise. My dear heart, there comes a moment when God doesn't just change your plan. He changes you so that the new plan can fit. What once worked no longer works, and that's not a sign of failure, but of transformation. You prayed for elevation, but elevation always demands separation. When you asked God to open new doors, He also had to close the ones that couldn't lead you there. You may not understand it now, but every person who left, every opportunity that vanished, every delay that exhausted you, was not rejection. It was divine filtration. Heaven was filtering your circle, your habits, your thinking, until only what can survive the next season remain. Think about Joseph. Sold by his brothers, forgotten in prison, betrayed by those he helped, and yet every setback was secretly a setup. God was rerouting him from the pit to the palace. What looked like a tragedy was transportation in disguise. That's how God works with you too. The thing that broke your heart wasn't meant to bury you. It was meant to position you. Your pain was never wasted. Your tears watered the soil where your next miracle will bloom. Every delay carries direction. Every disappointment contains a divine clue. And when you finally arrive where God is leading you, you'll realize the route you took wasn't longer. It was safer. Because if you had reached too early, the weight of your blessing might have crushed you. God needed to strengthen you before He could surprise you. So right now, in this quiet season of confusion, let your heart rest. Don't rush to fix what God is intentionally shifting. Some things are falling apart because heaven is building something better with the same pieces. The blessing you think you lost didn't vanish. It's just being remodeled to fit your growth. The version of you who prayed for it no longer exists. You've evolved, and your promise is evolving with you. Before you move on, pause. Look back for a moment and realize how many times God rerouted your steps to save your destiny. You could have settled for less, but He pulled you out. You could have ended up in a dead-end path, but He redirected you. That's not coincidence, it's covenant. Stay with me, because what comes next will reveal the divine mystery of why your prayer had to wait until now. You're about to see the hidden connection between your delay and your destiny. When you listen to words like these, you're not just hearing a message, you're witnessing a mission. Every time you choose to like, comment, or share this video, you're helping God's word reach someone who's losing faith in the middle of their reroute. When you subscribe, you become part of a global movement of light, pushing back the darkness of despair. And if this message is stirring your spirit, I'm inviting you personally to sow into this work. Use the super thanks, join the membership, or give through PayPal. A link is right in the description. This isn't just support, it's a seed. The moment you release it, heaven records it. God says in His word that when you sow into His field, you reap in His fire. So don't hold back. Plant where the Spirit is moving, and watch how God multiplies your faith, your peace, and your purpose. Now, prepare your heart, because what you're about to hear next will shift how you see every delay you've ever faced. Beloved one, imagine this. You are walking through a forest, and suddenly the familiar trail disappears. You panic for a moment because you can no longer see the path ahead. But what if I told you that the trail didn't vanish? It just shifted. God sometimes hides the next step until you have the strength to walk it. You are not lost. You are being led. The silence you're hearing right now is not abandonment. It's instruction. Heaven speaks in whispers when it's teaching you to trust without proof. When God changes your plan, it's not because He's unsure of your direction. It's because He's ensuring your protection. Many times, we beg God to open doors, not realizing that those very doors have traps behind them. You might think He denied your request, but in truth, He intercepted an attack. He saw the enemy's blueprint long before you did, and He rearranged your route to make sure you survived what was meant to destroy you. Sometimes the route is the rescue. Think about the Israelites. They could have gone directly from Egypt to Canaan. It was the shorter route, but God led them through the wilderness instead. Why? Because the direct path had enemies waiting in ambush. God took them the long way so they could reach safely and stronger. It's the same with you. What looks like a long detour in your life is actually God's strategy to equip you. He's teaching you endurance, faith, and discernment. He's turning every delay into discipline and every setback into strength. You see, God doesn't just want you to reach your promise. He wants you to sustain it once you arrive. That's why He's rerouting you through seasons that require patience, wisdom, and trust. Every no, every delay, every unanswered prayer is preparing you for what's waiting on the other side. The blessing isn't denied. It's being developed. So, when you feel unseen, when everything in you wants to ask, God, why? Pause. Look around. You're not standing in a dead end. You're standing in the middle of divine construction. The route is under redesign, and the master builder is working beyond your sight. Don't mistake silence for stillness. Heaven is moving on your behalf, even in the moments that feel motionless. And when it feels like the waiting will never end, remind yourself, every route has a revelation waiting at its end. The path you didn't choose may lead you to the miracle you never expected. Hold tight, because the next moment will uncover a truth that will make sense of your entire season of delay. My beloved listener, there is a sacred reason why God doesn't always show you the full picture. If He revealed everything at once, you might run ahead of His timing or settle for what looks easier. God's strategy often unfolds in fragments, because each step of obedience opens the next instruction. When your plans collapse, it's not the end of your story. It's just the pause before revelation. The divine route you're living through is not meant to confuse you, but to awaken you. It's heaven's way of saying, trust my map, even when your eyes can't see the road. There are moments in life when everything seems still, but something powerful is happening underneath the surface. It's like a seed in the soil. It looks buried, but in truth, it's being built. The darkness around you is not a tomb. It's a womb. God is birthing something new, something that can only grow through stillness and surrender. You keep asking, why is nothing happening? But something is happening. Roots are forming. Your faith is being anchored deeper, so your next season can rise higher. This reroute is training you to discern between what looks good and what is truly from God. You see, not every open door is divine, and not every delay is demonic. Sometimes the door that didn't open was never yours, and the one that closed was the very thing saving you from counterfeit success. God doesn't reroute you to punish your ambition. He does it to purify it. He's teaching you how to want His will more than your wants. Because when your desire aligns with His design, your destiny manifests effortlessly. Remember, the waiting season is never wasted. The very moments you call delay are the chapters where heaven is building your testimony. You are not being withheld. You are being prepared for what your old version couldn't carry. There's a version of you God is still perfecting, and until that transformation is complete, the blessing remains in waiting. What looks like delay is divine incubation. Heaven's timing is never late. It's layered with purpose. So, when you find yourself wondering why the route suddenly changed, remember this. The reroute is not the rejection of your dream. It's the redirection of your destiny. God is ensuring that when you finally arrive, you won't just receive the blessing. You'll be ready to become it. Every step, every silence, every shift is perfectly orchestrated. You are not walking aimlessly. You are walking divinely. And don't move away just yet, because the next revelation will show you how the pain you endured was actually the preparation for the promise you prayed for. My cherished friend, sometimes the greatest shift in your life begins with a quiet whisper from heaven saying, "Turn here." It doesn't come with fireworks or announcements. It comes in moments of stillness, when your plans start breaking and your spirit feels the weight of waiting. That's the moment God begins rerouting your story. The reroute doesn't always look spiritual. It can come as a closed door, a lost opportunity, a sudden change in direction that leaves you breathless. But the silence that follows is not absence, it's architecture. God is building something out of sight, shaping your story with divine precision. The truth is, we often fight the very reroutes that are meant to bless us. We pray for miracles but resist movement. We ask God for purpose but cling to our comfort zones. When the road changes, we panic. Yet heaven smiles, because what you call disruption, God calls direction. He knows exactly where you're supposed to be, even when your map no longer makes sense. You see, the problem is not that your plan failed. It's that your plan was too small for His glory. The detour you're walking through is God's way of expanding your capacity. You ask for a blessing, but He's teaching you how to hold it. Every time you feel like you're starting over, remember this. God is not resetting your life. He's reintroducing your destiny. The waiting room you're standing in is not punishment. It's preparation. God is teaching you patience so that you don't mistake premature blessings for permanent ones. There are blessings that require maturity to maintain. That's why He reroutes you through seasons of pruning, so that by the time the promise arrives, you have the roots to sustain it. The longer the preparation, the deeper the foundation. Think of it like an arrow being pulled backward. The tension doesn't mean you're moving away from your goal. It means you're being launched toward it. Every delay, every disappointment, every sudden change of plan is creating divine momentum. God is stretching you so that when He releases you, you'll travel further than you ever imagined. You may not see it yet, but this reroute is the reason you'll end up exactly where you belong. So breathe. Don't fight the direction shift. Don't mourn the doors that close. They were never designed to carry the new version of you. What's ahead is far greater than what's behind. This reroute is not the end of your journey. It's the beginning of the revelation that you were destined for something beyond your imagination. And trust me, stay close, because the next moment will reveal how everything you thought you lost was actually repositioned for your miracle. Beloved, I want you to pause for a second and really think about this. What if the season that frustrated you the most was actually the one where God worked the hardest for you? Every unanswered prayer, every door that wouldn't open, every opportunity that faded before your eyes, all of it was heaven rearranging your route. God never wastes pain. He never forgets promises. And when His plan shifts, it's not a cancellation of your destiny. It's a recalibration. You are still on schedule, just not according to your own clock. What looked like a delay was actually divine choreography. The stage had to be rearranged before your moment of arrival could begin. Sometimes you are being rerouted not because you were wrong, but because God is protecting your right time. Timing is everything in the kingdom. Arrive too soon, and your gift won't be ready. Arrive too late, and the opportunity will have passed. But when God directs your route, He ensures that every step lands exactly when it must. That's why things didn't work out earlier. They weren't supposed to. Heaven wasn't saying no. It was whispering, not yet. You had to grow into the version of yourself that could carry the promise without losing the presence. When you look back later, you will see how masterfully He guided you through moments you thought were meaningless. Every loss was a lesson. Every delay was direction. Every detour was divine defense. God rerouted you not to confuse you, but to complete you. What you thought was rejection was redirection toward restoration. It's only in hindsight that the pieces start fitting together. The people who left, the doors that closed, the dreams that paused. They were all part of the map heaven was drawing. It's important to understand that reroutes don't come with explanations. They come with invitations, an invitation to trust. When you surrender control, that's when you truly begin to see the invisible hand of God guiding you. The pain of uncertainty becomes the soil of faith. The tears you cried in confusion will soon become the testimony that strengthens someone else. Your waiting season carries someone else's miracle within it. This is how God multiplies meaning through your delay. So keep walking. Keep trusting, even when you don't understand the direction. Because one day soon, what feels like an endless detour will suddenly reveal itself as the exact road to your promise. You'll see why you had to take the long way. You'll realize that every closed door was mercy in disguise. Hold steady right here, because what unfolds next will unveil the divine reason why your waiting season had to last this long, and how it's about to turn into your moment of release. My precious soul, this is the moment where revelation meets reality. You've walked through silence, faced closed doors, and endured the weight of waiting. But now, heaven is whispering, this is why. Every shift, every unexpected change, every divine route has been building toward this understanding. God was not changing His promise, He was changing you for the promise. When the plan shifted, it wasn't punishment, it was preparation. You were never being delayed, you were being developed. The old path could take you to a blessing, but the new one is taking you to transformation. You see, God's reroutes are not meant to confuse your journey, they're meant to align your spirit. You can't reach the next level with the same version of faith that carried you through the last one. That's why the delay stretched you, why the silence deepened you, and why the disappointment refined you. Every unanswered prayer became a classroom where your soul learned to trust without evidence. The season of rerouting was never about loss. It was about building your capacity to receive what's next. Imagine a river being redirected by the hands of a master engineer. The old channel dries up, and for a moment, everything looks barren. But soon, fresh waters begin to flow in a new direction. Stronger, wider, deeper. That's what God is doing with you. He's not withholding your flow. He's rerouting it so it can reach a greater purpose. The blessing didn't die. It's being redirected toward your destiny. And once it begins to flow again, it won't just touch your life. It will overflow into others. Maybe you've felt unseen, forgotten, or left behind. But heaven never loses track of its own. God has been watching every tear and hearing every prayer, not with distance, but with divine timing. You are standing on the edge of what once felt impossible. The waiting season is about to reveal its meaning. What was rerouted is now returning, stronger, purified, and perfectly aligned with heaven's plan for you. So before you move on, take a deep breath. The path that confused you is about to confirm you. The doors that closed are about to make sense. The delay is about to show you its design. And when it happens, you won't just thank God for the blessing, you'll thank Him for the reroute. Stay right here with me, because the next unfolding truth will show you how the moment you almost gave up was actually the moment God began to accelerate everything for your favor. And now, a word from my heart to yours. If this message has stirred your spirit and reminded you that God's timing is never off, I invite you to join hands with this mission of spreading His word to every heart that feels forgotten. When you like, comment, and share this video, you are not just interacting, you are evangelizing. You are helping this divine light reach souls who are wandering through their own reroutes right now. And if you feel led, go one step further. You can sow a seed of faith through Super Thanks, become a channel member, or support through PayPal. The link is in the video description. This isn't a donation. It's a declaration. It's you saying, God, I'm part of this harvest. Because every seed planted here multiplies into lives transformed, hearts healed, and destinies realigned. Remember, those who sow into divine soil never lack divine favor. So move as the Spirit leads you. Heaven always honors obedience. Now, stay with me, because what comes next will uncover the hidden acceleration that follows divine rerouting. My beloved listener, when God begins to accelerate your life after a season of rerouting, it rarely happens with noise. It happens quietly, almost invisibly, like dawn breaking after a long night. One day, the waiting feels endless. The next, everything begins to unfold with divine precision. You start to see how every pause was perfectly timed, every heartbreak was purposeful, and every no was necessary. God's acceleration is never random. It is always revelation. He moves swiftly once your heart and His plan finally align. What you thought was lost time was actually preparation time, and now the speed of His promise will make up for every second you thought you wasted. Acceleration doesn't mean chaos. When heaven speeds you up, it's not to rush you, it's to restore you. Think of a slingshot. The farther it's pulled back, the greater its launch. You have been in the tension of that pull for a reason. The resistance was not meant to break you, but to build the force needed for your release. Now, heaven is releasing you into the very thing that once felt unreachable. The doors that were closed are reopening in new ways, and opportunities that vanished are returning with divine favor attached. You didn't miss your chance. Your chance was maturing while you were being prepared. Sometimes God reroutes you not because you were unworthy of the destination, but because He wanted to make the destination worthy of you. Your prayer wasn't denied. It was delayed until the atmosphere could hold what He promised. That's why when the blessing finally appears, it feels smoother, lighter, easier. The struggle that once surrounded it fades because now it's happening in the timing of grace. You won't have to chase it. It will find you. God's acceleration doesn't need your striving. It only needs your surrender. This is the divine paradox. The slower the process feels, the faster the outcome becomes once it's God's appointed time. Every hidden season you endured becomes fuel for what's about to unfold. The years of waiting turn into moments of manifestation. People will look at your life and call it sudden, but you will know it was sacred. They'll say it happened overnight, but you'll remember every night you prayed for this. So when things start moving quickly, don't be afraid. The speed is not a signal to panic. It's a sign of fulfillment. The same God who rerouted your journey is now releasing you into momentum. Every delay, every detour, every denial has been building toward this surge. You're stepping into a season where the pace of grace will overtake the pain of waiting. Stay right here, because what comes next will show you how to walk in this acceleration without losing your peace. The next truth will teach you how to carry divine speed with spiritual stillness. My beloved, when divine acceleration begins, your greatest task is not to chase what's moving, but to stay centered in who is moving it. The danger in rapid blessing is forgetting the source. God routed your journey to make sure your heart would remain anchored in Him once the pace increased. Many people pray for open doors, but lose themselves when they finally walk through them. That's why your waiting season was so long, because God wanted your roots to grow deeper than your reach. He didn't just prepare the blessing for you, He prepared you for the blessing. Now, as acceleration begins, your peace will depend on your posture. Can you stay still in your spirit while everything around you starts to move? There's a holy calm that comes when you realize you don't need to force what heaven has already scheduled. You no longer have to knock on doors that God intends to open. You no longer have to chase people who left when the reroute began. Those who walked away weren't part of your acceleration. They were part of your preparation. God had to lighten your load before lifting your life. The new route requires less baggage. What you thought you needed for the journey was only meant to help you start, not finish. The people and opportunities that remain in your life now are divinely assigned for this next phase. Remember this truth: when God accelerates, He also aligns. Everything begins to move in rhythm with His plan. The right connections appear effortlessly. The right timing unfolds naturally. And what once felt forced now flows. This is the beauty of divine momentum. It doesn't demand, it delivers. You're no longer striving to make things happen. You're walking in the current of grace. When God rerouted your life, He didn't just change your path, He changed the very atmosphere around you. You are stepping into a space where obedience produces overflow. But even in this season of movement, stay grounded in gratitude. Don't forget the lessons the reroute taught you. The waiting season gave you wisdom, and wisdom is what sustains blessing. Stay humble, stay teachable, stay sensitive to the voice that guided you here. Because acceleration without discernment can lead to exhaustion, but acceleration guided by the Spirit leads to expansion. God doesn't just want you to reach your promise. He wants you to carry His presence into it. The reroute prepared you for stewardship, not just success. So breathe in this moment. Let peace be your compass. The speed of the season will not overwhelm you because you are no longer depending on your own strength. You're being carried by divine rhythm now. The same God who rerouted your path is the one steering your pace. You won't lose control. You'll gain clarity. Stay tuned, because the next unfolding truth will show you how the same hand that rerouted you will now reveal the full vision of why everything had to happen this way. What's coming next will tie every thread of your waiting, pain, and patience into a divine masterpiece. My dear one, this is the moment where understanding dawns, the place where everything that once confused you now begins to make sense. When God routes your path, He never forgets a single detail. Every twist, every delay, every closed door was part of a greater pattern He was weaving behind the curtain. You were never wandering aimlessly. You were being guided through the unseen corridors of divine timing. It's only now, as you look back, that you begin to realize, if even one thing had gone differently, you wouldn't be standing in the alignment you are in today. That disappointment you thought destroyed you was the same moment heaven redirected you toward destiny. Think about the stories written in Scripture. Moses thought his failure in Egypt ended his calling, but God used that exile to reroute him into leadership. Ruth thought her loss was final, but her loyalty rerouted her straight into legacy. Joseph's betrayal became the blueprint for his elevation. The pattern is always the same: the pit, the pause, the promotion. God's reroutes are never random detours. They are bridges to divine purpose. And just like them, your path too has been under holy construction. You didn't lose your way. You were simply being prepared to walk the way heaven designed specifically for you. You see, the problem with human vision is that it only sees what's immediate. God sees the entire map. That's why He often allows the unexpected to interrupt your expectations. It's not cruelty, it's correction. You prayed for His will, and His will sometimes takes you through wildernesses before it leads you to wonder. The delays you cursed were actually divine delays meant to spare you from counterfeit blessings. You thought you were falling behind, but in truth, God was walking you through a shortcut disguised as a storm. The long way was the safe way. The hard way was the holy way. Now, everything is beginning to align. The weight of waiting is turning into wings of wisdom. You're stronger, more grounded, more discerning. You no longer panic when plans fall apart because you've learned that what falls apart was never meant to last. You no longer chase validation because you've discovered the peace of divine approval. This reroute didn't just bring you to your blessing. It transformed who you are at the core. You become the person the original version of you prayed to be. The wilderness was not wasted. It was sacred training ground for destiny. And here's the most powerful truth. God's plan didn't change because He was uncertain. It changed because He loves you too much to let you settle. What He has prepared for you is not a repetition of what you lost. It's a complete resurrection of what you were meant to gain. The reroute was never about delay. It was always about destiny. Stay with me, because the final revelation will bring this entire journey full circle. The next message will not just explain why the plan changed. It will show you what that change is about to release into your life. My precious heart, this is it, the moment where everything comes together. You've walked through the silence, the confusion, the tears, and the surrender. You've seen doors close and routes change, but now, the divine picture is finally clear. God was never late, never absent, never undecided. He was orchestrating every reroute, every redirection, every unexpected turn with the precision of eternity. What you call delay was God rewriting your destiny in real time. You didn't lose what was meant for you. You simply outgrew what couldn't hold you anymore. The plan didn't fail. It evolved. Look at where you are now. You've been refined through fire, strengthened through storms, and softened through surrender. What once scared you now strengthens you. You've learned that faith isn't about understanding the route. It's about trusting the guide. God's plan changing for you wasn't a sign of instability. It was a symbol of intimacy. It means He is actively involved in your story, editing it daily so that everything, even the painful parts, lead you toward purpose. He didn't forget your prayer. He upgraded His answer. The road that looked broken was just bending toward blessing. Think about it. If God had given you what you wanted when you first asked, you might have settled for less than you were designed for. The waiting purified your desires. The reroute realigned your focus. The pain revealed your power. And now, you stand on holy ground, at the intersection of promise and purpose. You didn't just survive the reroute. You became the proof that divine delays are not denials but directions. Every tear watered the soil of your breakthrough. Every unanswered question was a seed that's now blooming into revelation. This is your turning point. Not by chance, but by choice. A choice to trust, to surrender, to believe again. So now, step forward boldly. The same God who routed your path is about to reveal the harvest of that journey. What was once detoured is now being delivered. You are not behind. You are perfectly aligned. Heaven has not forgotten you. Heaven has been preparing you. The season you thought was empty was actually the one that filled you with everything you'd need for the future. And that future begins now. Walk in it with confidence, because the God who changes plans never changes his promises. Hold this truth close. When your plan changes, it's not the end. It's evidence that God is still writing your story. And his pen never runs out of ink. Now, before we close this journey, listen closely to what I'm about to say, because this part matters deeply. If this message has awakened your faith, if it reminded you that divine detours still lead to destiny, then I'm inviting you to be part of something bigger than yourself. When you like, comment, and share this video, you're not just interacting, you're igniting a movement of hope. You're helping someone else in their waiting season discover that their route is also sacred. Every engagement, every share is a spark that carries the word farther than any one of us could alone. And if your heart is moved to go further, to sow into this mission of spreading God's truth, you can do so through super thanks, through becoming a channel member, or through a seed given via PayPal. The link is right there in the description. Remember, this isn't a transaction. It's transformation. It's your way of saying, God, use me to send light into someone else's night. The word says, those who sow in tears shall reap with joy. This is your moment to plant into divine soil and watch heaven multiply it in ways you can't imagine. So step into faith, move in obedience, and be part of this divine harvest. Your giving becomes someone's guidance. Now go, child of God. Your route has become your revelation, and your revelation will lead many others home. My beloved listener, now that you've seen how God's rerouting has led you to alignment, it's time to understand something even greater, why the shift was necessary for your soul's transformation. Sometimes, God's greatest gift is not what he gives you, but what he takes away. The things you lost, the people who walked away, the opportunities that vanished, they were all pruning moments designed to reveal your true strength. You were never being emptied, you were being expanded. The stripping away was sacred surgery, not suffering. When the plan changed, heaven wasn't reacting, it was responding. God saw the weight you were carrying and knew it couldn't go with you into the next season. He had to remove what was temporary so that what was eternal could finally take root. You see, the route wasn't just external, it was internal. It was never about changing your destination, it was about transforming your foundation. You've been rebuilt from within. You now carry resilience, depth, and a divine calm that only comes from surviving divine interruptions. Think of how a potter molds clay. The potter doesn't discard the clay when it bends, he reshapes it. He adds pressure in certain places, removes excess in others, and spins it until it takes perfect form. That's what your reroute was. It was the potter's hand pressing, shaping, and perfecting you. The pressure you felt was proof of his presence. The pain you endured was part of your preparation. Every pause, every push, every delay was sculpting the masterpiece he saw in you before you saw it in yourself. And now, the masterpiece is emerging. The broken pieces of your old plans have become the mosaic of your new purpose. What you once called detours were actually destiny's fingerprints. God didn't just change your direction, he upgraded your design. The old version of you prayed for miracles. The new version becomes one. You have crossed from waiting to walking, from confusion to clarity, from hope deferred to hope fulfilled. So don't just celebrate the arrival, honor the process. Because the process is what made you unshakable. You no longer fear reroutes, because now you understand that divine change always leads to divine completion. Stay right here, because the next revelation will unveil how this transformation inside you is about to overflow and impact the world around you. My dearest one, what God has done within you through the reroute was never meant to stay hidden. The transformation that took place in your private wilderness is now about to echo in public purpose. Everything He rebuilt in silence will soon speak loudly through your life. You see, divine rerouting never ends with restoration. It always leads to revelation. God doesn't simply fix your story. He uses your story as a signal for others who are still wandering in theirs. What once felt like wasted years are now becoming the very testimony that will heal others' fears. You may not realize it yet, but someone's faith is attached to your obedience. The lessons you learn through delay, disappointment, and redirection are not just for you. They are for the ones who will find themselves where you once stood. You are now a living map of mercy, guiding others toward hope when they lose sight of their own. That is why your route had to change. God rerouted you not just to bless you, but to turn you into a blessing. You've been refined so that your light can now reach places it couldn't before. Think of how the night sky works. Stars don't shine because they try. They shine because that's what they were created to do. You've gone through the darkness not so you would be consumed by it, but so you could illuminate it. Your story is your starlight. Every detour has added depth to your glow. And now, God is calling you to shine, boldly, fearlessly, and authentically. You don't have to pretend the pain didn't happen. You just have to let your redemption speak louder than your wounds. That's what true testimony is. There is a shift happening in the spirit right now. The same God who rerouted your steps is now releasing your voice. This is your commissioning season. You are being sent to carry the message of divine timing, of holy redirection, of unshakable trust. The reroute was not punishment. It was preparation for purpose. Every word you speak, every act of kindness you sow, every moment you share your story, it all becomes a ripple of grace. Heaven is expanding your influence, not for your fame, but for His glory. And remember this, when God elevates you, stay humble. The very humility that carried you through the reroute will sustain you in the revelation. Don't rush to perform, continue to flow. Don't strive to prove, continue to serve. The light within you will speak for itself. You are not at the end of your story. You are at the beginning of your calling. Hold close, because the next part will reveal how the world begins to respond when God's rerouted ones rise. My beloved, when God's rerouted ones rise, the atmosphere around them begins to shift. What once resisted you now recognizes you. The same places that rejected you will call you back. Not because you changed your dream, but because God changed your dimension. When heaven authorizes your elevation, no earthly opinion can limit it. Those who doubted you will witness what divine timing truly looks like. You see, when the reroute turns into revelation, even your silence carries power. You no longer need to prove your worth. Your peace becomes your proof. The hand of God that guided you through the wilderness is now about to display His glory through your life. But this is the critical moment. You must remember that this new chapter is not about recognition, it's about responsibility. The blessings that are now unfolding are not rewards for endurance alone. They are assignments of stewardship. God trusts you with influence because you have proven that you won't idolize it. The reroute removed your need for validation, so that now, every opportunity that arrives will serve purpose, not pride. You are not being elevated to impress the world. You are being positioned to impact it. Every new door opening before you carries a divine instruction. Use it to lift others. Your promotion is heaven's strategy to extend its reach through you. When Joseph stood before Pharaoh, he wasn't the same boy who once begged for acceptance. The prison had prepared him. The reroute had purified him. That's how God operates. He doesn't place crowns on untested heads. You are now walking in the season where what was delayed is delivered, but you'll handle it differently. You'll carry success with the same humility you carried sorrow. And that's what will make your influence unstoppable. The reroute didn't just bring you to your blessing. It taught you how to handle it without losing your heart. And here lies the beauty of divine redirection. What God restores, He multiplies. The blessing that returns to you will not come alone. It will bring increase, opportunity, peace, and divine partnerships. You're about to see acceleration where you once saw only silence. The path that once felt empty will soon overflow. But remember, this overflow is not for keeping. It's for pouring. The anointing upon your life flows best when it flows through you. So now, as heaven continues to lift you, stay anchored. Keep your gaze on the one who rerouted you in love. For everything you are stepping into now was written long before you even knew you'd need a reroute. You were never behind. You were always being aligned. And trust me, stay with me just a little longer, because what comes next will reveal the divine multiplication that happens when obedience meets destiny. My precious heart, when obedience meets destiny, something extraordinary happens. The reroute begins to reproduce. Everything you've endured, everything you've learned, and everything you've overcome starts to multiply, not just in your life, but in the lives of those connected to you. This is the divine ripple effect of surrender. You didn't walk through that waiting season only for yourself. Every prayer you prayed, every tear you shed, and every time you chose faith over frustration became a seed in the soil of someone else's breakthrough. Heaven wastes nothing. God takes what was meant to break you and turns it into the bridge that carries others to their healing. You see, multiplication always follows obedience. When Abraham obeyed the voice to leave everything familiar, he didn't just receive one promise, he became the father of many nations. When Peter obeyed and cast his net again, after catching nothing all night, he didn't just catch fish, he caught revelation. Obedience is heaven's favorite currency. It opens doors faster than effort ever could. And because you obeyed in silence, you are now about to see public overflow. The seeds planted in faith during your reroute are maturing into fruit that will feed many. This is why God changed your plan. The reroute wasn't random. It was reproductive. The impact you will now have could not have been birthed from your original path. You had to go through divine reconstruction so that your influence would carry heaven's fragrance, not human ambition. Everything you went through gave your words weight. You now speak with authority because you lived the lesson. You no longer inspire by theory, you inspire by testimony. But be careful in this season of multiplication. With growth comes attention, and with attention comes distraction. Stay low. Stay surrendered. Stay invisible in spirit, even when your name becomes visible in the world. The reroute taught you the rhythm of divine dependence. Don't lose it now. Continue to seek the same quiet voice that led you through the wilderness. Keep intimacy above influence, presence above platform. Because the moment you start chasing applause, the same route that lifted you can become the one that loses you. This is how you protect divine multiplication, by remembering the miracle that started. Every blessing before you now carries your obedience inside it. It's the invisible signature of your faith, the echo of your yes to God when everything seems silent. And He will continue to multiply as long as you continue to surrender. Stay right here, because the next moment will reveal how God uses your multiplied influence to rebuild lives, restore hope, and redeem time itself. My beloved one, this is the moment where everything, the waiting, the pain, the reroute, the revelation comes full circle. You've reached the point where the story no longer feels like a mystery, but a masterpiece. Look at yourself now, stronger, wiser, softer, yet unbreakable. You've learned how to trust even when you couldn't trace, how to walk even when you couldn't see, and how to believe even when you had every reason to doubt. The journey wasn't about arriving at a destination. It was about becoming the kind of soul that could handle divine destiny. What once felt like loss has now become legacy. The very path that once confused you now confirms that God never stopped working for you. This final revelation is simple yet life-altering. God never reroutes without restoration. He never delays without design. Every step, every silence, every season you thought was wasted was really divine wisdom in disguise. You were never being detoured. You were being delivered. Your story didn't fall apart. It fell into place. The plan changed not because you failed, but because heaven saw a greater version of your future. You weren't being hidden from blessing. You were being hidden for blessing. And now, that season of silence has turned into a sun of purpose. You stand at the edge of divine completion. The same God who rerouted your path is now revealing why. You can finally see that He didn't take anything from you. He was making room for something bigger, purer, and eternal. The roads you cried on have become altars of worship. The detours you despised have become highways of destiny. You didn't just survive the reroute, you became its revelation. And now, you are not the same person who once questioned the delay. You are the one who understands that every delay was direction, and every redirection was divine rescue. So go forth now, with peace in your spirit and confidence in your calling. The journey ahead will not be easy, but it will be ordained. You've learned heaven's rhythm. Trust over haste, surrender over struggle, presence over performance. God's plan didn't just change for you, it evolved with you. You are living proof that divine reroutes lead to divine rewards. Your waiting was not wasted, it was worshipped. Your faith was not forgotten, it was forming your future. And now, the same God who guided you through the storm will shine through you in this new season of stillness, purpose, and power. Hold this close. Every reroute is a revelation of love. You were never lost. You were being led. Beloved, as this journey closes, remember, this isn't just a message, it's a movement. Every story of divine reroute carries the power to awaken faith in someone else's heart. And if this word has spoken to you, if it brought peace where there was confusion or faith where there was fear, I'm inviting you to take a step of holy action. When you like, share, and comment, you become part of a global ministry of light, helping others find direction in their own divine reroutes. When you subscribe, you're saying, God, keep feeding my spirit and use me to reach more souls. And if you feel led, sow into this mission. You can use super thanks, join the channel membership, or give through PayPal. The link is in the description below. This is not just giving, this is a prophetic act. It's your seed into the soil of souls being saved and hearts being healed. The word says, give, and it shall be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. When you sow into God's message, you step into God's movement. Your act of faith today becomes someone else's answered prayer tomorrow. So move now, with boldness and belief. Be the light that helps another find their way home. Because when you give into purpose, heaven multiplies your portion. This is your moment to act, your moment to shine, your moment to partner with the plan that never fails. God's plan. Your reroute was divine. Your purpose is alive. And your story is not over. It's only just begun.